I'd like to talk a little bit about new regulatory paradigms powered by data for the benefit of patients. So if I look at my watch, I can see that this morning I've already walked 2,764 steps. I've gone up 3 flights of stairs. 2 of them were in my apartment, 1 of them here. And my heart rate is, it's a little bit higher now than it was before I got on the stage. And that might all sound a little bit, common now, but if you think back to 10, 20 years ago, and looking out at the group, I think everyone can think back 10, 20 years, we didn't have all of this data available all the time to us. And when we think of the future, we think of virtual reality, we think of this virtual world. We think of a world where data is at our fingertips all the time, where it's interoperable, where it's all connected together, where it's accessible to everyone. So democratization of data is very important. Everyone has access to lots of data. And how do we interpret that data? Because we've got so much data out there. So how do we interpret that with artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc.? It's actually fascinating when you really think about it. And we can see that it's not really the future, but it's actually now. The future is now. And if you look at also even things like digital health, there's a lot of tools out there, and I'll speak a little bit about decentralized clinical trials, etc., but also mobile health, how you have telehealth care. And we spoke a little bit about the pandemic earlier, which really accelerated the adoption of all of this, but also looking at analytics and wearables, as I've just mentioned. So there's a huge opportunity out there, and we really need to seize the day. If you look at this graph, and on the bottom left, you will see an analysis done by McKinsey in 2020, which highlighted that the pharma and med tech industry is really trailing behind with respect to adoption of digital data and analytics. And there's a huge opportunity there. We have advanced digital technologies. I spoke a little bit about them already, which really allows us to shift the paradigm and reshape how we also interact with the regulators. So with the regulators that are entrusted for public health and ensuring that we get products to the market as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Again, looking at the pandemic, you saw how regulators reacted very quickly to approving vaccines in record time. Again, looking at data, the analytics of the data allowed them in order to do that. So there's a whole paradigm shift, and I'm going to speak about 3 separate areas. One is how we run clinical trials, but also the data we generate. Bernard, you mentioned earlier on about simulations, etc., how you can look at external control arms, getting data from other data sources in order to really streamline how we conduct clinical trials to get the answer faster than we would have alternatively. How we interact with the agencies, and apologies for everyone, I better explain that for a regulatory affairs person, we always call the agencies the health authorities as well, so ANSM in France, or the European Medicines Agency, or the US FDA, just to clarify that term. But how we really help them make decisions based on real data in a fast and effective way. And then I'm going to speak very quickly, because I do see the time ticking down, about facilities as well, and how we use technology in facilities also to ensure that we harness and unleash the power of data. So, bringing clinical trials closer to patients. During the COVID pandemic, this really accelerated. So really allowing patients to be part of clinical trials in their home. And that's been facilitated by many elements that you see here, both from telemedicine, so actually speaking to the investigator via your iPad, etc., the distribution of the investigational medicinal product or the trial material directly to your home. looking at the case report forms and capturing all of that data. And really capturing the data is key. And then using digital health technologies as well in order to measure and then capture the data as well. There's huge benefits to this. One is flexibility for patients and participants of clinical trials. Very importantly, data diversity. So you actually get a better representation of the population by doing decentralized clinical trials. There's a big drive in different countries, and in particular the US, to ensure that minority groups are represented in clinical trial databases, and this really helps that as well. It helps with recruitment and retention, so again, you get stronger data packages and real-time communication. And then reinforcing the electronic data capture system really ensures that we have all of the data that's of high quality that then we can analyze in different ways. So that's really about bringing clinical trials closer to the patients. Interaction with the agencies or with the health authorities. There's a lot of work happening at the moment about how we interact with, for example, the European Medicines Agency or the US FDA. The current paradigm is that industry or pharmaceutical companies generate lots of data, lots and lots of data. You freeze the data. You submit the data. It used to be via paper many years ago, then via CD-ROMs, and now it's done electronically through gateways, but it's still frozen data that the health authority then has to take, assess, and build up again. The whole new paradigm is actually moving from this documentation base to database. So it's data exchange. And Sanofi and indeed many other companies, there's about 12 companies, large companies involved in this, have come together to support a new company called Accumulus Synergy to partner with the health authorities in understanding how we can really harness the power of the data for that data exchange with the aim to make sure that new medicines get to patients quicker, faster, more efficiently. It's a win-win-win-win across the whole paradigm. There's been great engagement by the health authorities on this. I'm really excited, as you probably can see, I'm very excited about this because it really changes the paradigm of how we get our medicines to patients, and that at the end of the day is why we're all here. Digital factory. Again, another fascinating area, and again, I would say it's not really of the future, but it's really of today. We have high volumes of data coming through. We also have digital twins where we can simulate different aspects of the process or production in order to run simulations, etc. Very powerful way of approaching this, and then also building quality into everything we do. And that really enables remote inspections as well. Again, during the pandemic, this was accelerated. Health authorities could no longer go to visit manufacturing sites. So we had to implement a lot of the technology to allow the health authorities monitor and review what was happening on pharmaceutical manufacturing sites. So whether that was through live streaming, sharing different technologies, doing virtual tours, etc. And indeed, many of the health authorities globally have implemented this moving forward. So even if they can come back on sites, they augment their inspection capabilities by using these technologies. So I'm going to spend my last 3 or 4 minutes to talk about data, because at the end of the day, it's all about data. Everything I've spoken about is powered by data. There's just 2 graphs here to share a little bit of the explosion of use of the internet, and when we spoke about sustainability, I think this resonates and connects very well with that as well. But you can see how things have really escalated on the digital and tech side, from both internet use, but also the prediction of data, and data that will be generated moving forward. You know, currently and if you think of everything we do, it's all captured as data. So that exponential data creation is absolutely huge, and how we manage this is going to be a key factor. So I'm linking it back to our sustainability as well. Data can be elusive and needs to be contextualized. So I'm, as you probably gathered, well, don't know if you know accents very well, but I'm Irish. And I grew up in a farm outside of Dublin. But this is one of my favorite pictures when I think about data, because you always need to contextualize data, because if you take things on as you see it, it may not always be the truth. So this cow is not more than 5 meters long. But that's why the data quality is so important, that you really understand the data, you understand where it's coming from, so that you can draw the right conclusions. Because overlaying, artificial intelligence or machine learning is all about also gathering insights, doing simulations, doing predictions, but the quality of data is absolutely key. And as I said, it all comes down to data. So it's data, data, data. For regulatory purposes, and indeed many other purposes, there are certain criteria and standards. Some of them I'm sure you would know. FAIR is obviously used quite a lot when we speak about data, so findable, accessible, interoperable, so that connection, and reusable as well. Alcoa is one that I particularly like as well, being able to attribute the data, it being legible, contemporaneous, original and accurate, and reproducible as well. Absolutely key. You may have noticed that I was a little bit late joining the conference this morning, and I had to sneak in at about 9:15. The reason was I had gone to my phone to look at the train timetables coming out from Paris, and I missed it because the website that I went onto had the wrong time on it. So I had to wait an extra half an hour. So understanding the accuracy of your data is absolutely key. In the middle of the slide here, I just speak about different parts of a product's life. So whether that's a medicinal product, so a medicine as it goes through development, growth, and onto the market and maturity, the different areas that we look at, the different areas where data is absolutely key on making decisions as we move forward. And as we have more and more data available at our hands, it's really important that we use the tools to be able to generate those insights appropriately. So, for the last 30 seconds, this is the future, but the future is happening now. The future is happening all around us. Opportunities continue to grow exponentially, and really it's to us to understand how can we harness the value that data and that future can bring for us, for the value of our patients.